a former New York Jets scout who we have a kick having on the show because he's got opinions sometimes that aren't the mainstream opinions. And that's where I'm going to start, because if you go to your Twitter account at First Round Mock, you've got a little video of Mel Kiper. And I guess on Get Up or First Take, they showed one of your tweets about Shedeur Sanders, and Kiper went back at you. Why don't you give us your opinion of Shedeur first? Hey, Daniel.
Hey, Matt. Hello, everybody.
How you
It's
doing?
great to be on the show. Hey, guys. It's almost draft day. The Tennessee Titans are on the clock. Shedeur Sanders. I mean, he is somebody that I have an undraftable free agent value on in the 2025 NFL draft. This is somebody who I've studied extensively. 26 games I have watched and studied going all the way back to when he was at Jackson State. I looked at all his games at Colorado. And the only reason I feel he's even in the first round discussion is because of his last name.
What about his accuracy? He had really good accuracy numbers.
Well, that to me is debatable because, first of all, he threw a lot of short passes. Second of all, I charted 54. I like little chicken scratches in my notes. 54 PBUs, pass breakups in the last 2 seasons that go along with his 13 interceptions. The accuracy, see, the thing with Colorado is Pat Shurmur, the offensive coordinator there, did a great job coming in this past season in creating a very friendly system for him to pad his stats. When he drops back, basically, he looks basically, this is what, kind of in summary, what it was like for me watching a game to him. He drops back, he looks. What he's looking for, now, he has the slowest throwing time per PFF, Pro Football Focus, in this draft class at 3 seconds. He holds the ball a long time. He sits back in the pocket. He looks. What's he looking for? He's looking for the biggest, safest, most guaranteed throwing window he can find, preferably against off-man, zone coverage, big throwing windows, soft schedule, defenders are off. He's waiting for receivers to uncover. Then he throws the ball. I mean, I like to think that even I could complete some of those passes. Those guys are so wide open, So yeah, he has the stats, the completion percentage, all those type of things. But really, to me, it was a very friendly offense put together by a coach who has a lot of NFL experience and knows how to manipulate really middling defenders in a very average college schedule. Because when when they ratcheted it up and he went up a step to higher level of competition, he went into his shell. He became more hesitant. He was 1-7 against top 25 teams over the last 2 years. So I take the stats that he put up at Colorado with a grain of salt because the game film said that it was pretty much set up for him to pad his stats to even get him in the first round discussion. That's what I think the whole thing was about.
So you think that whoever takes him, whether it's, I don't think he's going to go 3 to the Giants. I don't think he's going to go 2 to the Browns. But, if the Saints grab him because they're desperate at 9, the Steelers, now they don't know what Rodgers is going to do if they grab him at 21. So you basically think whoever drafts him, certainly if they're he's in the first round, automatic Buster-Rooney.
Absolutely. This is the second most, I've been, since I jumped back to the evaluation game in 2021, this is the second most overrated, overhyped, over just, everything since Trey Lance. And since I saw him. Now, I put an undraftable free agent grade on Trey Lance. I have the same grade on Shedeur Sanders. Washington fans can only hope and pray he ends up in New York. Whoever takes him, if some team takes him in the first round, he is an organizational disaster waiting to happen. I've just never really seen a quarterback that throws with this kind of hesitation. He's afraid to make a throwing mistake. I think the teams, NFL teams, I watched him. I mean, anybody who thinks he's a first-round pick out there, go back and watch him against number 17 BYU or number 18 K-State. He looked completely overwhelmed against BYU. I can't even imagine how it would look against the Philadelphia Eagles. To me, it's all hype. It's his last name. It's all that. But yeah, he's a bust waiting to happen if he goes in the first round.
What about his teammate? Sure. What about his teammate Travis Hunter? Do you like him more as a receiver or a corner?
I love Travis Hunter as a wide receiver. To me, he's a generational wide receiver prospect. I think we're going to look at Travis Hunter in the near future and mention him in the same breath as a Jamar Chase or a Justin Jefferson or a CeeDee Lamb. He's going to be one of the top receivers in the NFL if he plays that position. The guy he's wiggly. He's got elite bend. He can bend out the top of route stems. He works back to the ball. He attacks the ball with his hands. He's a fun wide receiver to watch. Now, I don't see him. I've evaluated every single snap Travis Hunter's taken at a wide receiver and corner the last 2 years. I have a first-round grade on him as a wide receiver and a consistent for the last 2 years, a second-round grade on him as a cornerback.
We're joined by Daniel Kelly, former New York Jets scout on the Rude Guest Hotline. Rude, the most reliable heating and air conditioning products in the DMV. You can follow him at First Round Mock on Twitter. Now, you don't have any reservations about who everybody expects to go number one, Cam Ward, to the Titans. I know that you had a documented first-round grade on him according to your tweet from yesterday. Talk about what you see in Cam Ward and what the Titans are getting if and when they pick him number one.
Yeah, it's one of the rare times I'm singing with the choir on quarterback. Cam Ward, love the guy. Have been evaluating him going back, as you mentioned, all the way to 2022 when he came on Incarnate Word of the FCS when he jumped into Washington State. The thing I love most about Cam Ward is his ability to successfully and quickly acclimate to new environments. He showed it at Washington State. He was there for 2 years. He kind of reminded me of a Jalen Hurts. Then last year he jumps down to Miami, and he reminded me of Patrick Mahomes down there. The things I love most also about him is just his elite pocket navigation. He drives the offense downfield aggressively. He keeps the offense, what I call, leaning forward as he's going down the field. He's a student of the game, and he has very high-level communication skills, preparation skills. He's a good communicator, good listener. He's always asking for feedback from what the commentators said during the televised games, which is why I love studying the televised games, because they give that kind of intel. But this guy is an athletic, mature playmaker with a big league arm, an 8 throwing instincts, commanding presence, and the great ones make it look easy. And boy, did he make it look easy down in Miami this season. I'm really excited. I think he's a surefire, plug-and-play franchise quarterback. I'm really excited about Cam Ward.
All right, so we know it's not a strong quarterback draft, certainly not what it was last year. We already talked about a couple, but there are some desperate teams out there for quarterbacks. All right, so you've talked about a few of those. Let's move on to Jackson Dart. If you've looked at him as much as the other guys, do you see Jackson Dart going in the first round because you've got some desperate teams that need one?
I hope not. It seems like every year teams are reaching for quarterbacks. I have a 3rd-round grade on Jackson Dart. I say he's the next Gardner Minshew. I see him as being as a kind of career backup. As far as the ceiling's concerned, I've evaluated 26 games of Jackson Dart. And to me, what it always comes back to, there's a lot of things that I like about Jackson Dart. He's very competitive. He aggressively attacks downfield. He's fearless when he throws the ball. But it always comes back to me. If I was sitting in a war room in a scouting meeting and I was asked, hey, Daniel, give us one word, like sometimes they do that in scouting rooms, give us one word about Jackson Dart. And the word I would pick that comes to my mind is inconsistencies. And I think it's always going to come back to these type of things, because the things that scare me, there's some real, basic things that I look for in an NFL quarterback making the leap from college. Does he go through his progressions on a regular basis? Can he make multiple reads when he's sitting back there in the pocket? What kind of anticipation does he throw with? Does he, ball placement, ball security? And these are all things that, I don't like Jackson Dart's pocket presence whatsoever. I think he makes some real ill-advised passes from the pocket. But the thing that concerns me even more than all that is he just seems to be a very elementary one-read quarterback, and a lot of his throws at Ole Miss were seemed to be predetermined. The NFL's not. He locks in with the receivers. Of course, he pats the ball like the controversy about Shedeur patting the ball. They all pat the ball, but he pats the ball. He tends to lock in, and he makes some, like I said, some real ill-advised throws. And his anticipation isn't that great. A lot of times, he's throwing the ball, as the receiver makes his break or after. And when you have all those things you're doing to telegraph throws against NFL corners, it makes for a tough time. I mean, I don't think he belongs in the first round discussion at all. I think the media's kind of overhyped him because teams are quarterback desperate. But, I think, I had a 5th round grade coming out on Kenny Pickett pre-draft, 3rd round grade on Zach Wilson. I kind of see him in the same light, just kind of like with those type of guys.
Right.
I think his inconsistencies are always going to send him back to the bench. Teams are going to try to make him a starter, but I just don't see him sticking.
Talking to Daniel Kelly, former NFL scout, who predicted Caleb Williams wasn't going to be so good first year. You seem right on that. Let's shift over to running backs. Because here in Washington, everybody wants to upgrade. Brian Robinson's fine. Is there somebody they could get with that 29th pick that's going to be a game changer?
Yeah, it's funny. Running backs, I was up to 1:45 in the morning finishing my evaluation on Marion Hampton. I think there is a guy that I really, matter of fact, I finished my evaluation yesterday. I know there's some chatter out there about him going to Washington, but Ohio State's running back Tion Henderson, 5'10", 202, is a guy who I think really could help Washington. I'd be really excited to see him in Cliff Kingsbury's offensive system with Jaden Daniels back there. The thing about Henderson is he's a threat every time that he touches the ball. He's a home run threat every time he touches the ball. He runs the daylight, good vision. He has an electric burst and acceleration, good get up and go, 4.43 40 speed. And the thing that a lot of people don't know about Henderson that I appreciate that the 33rd team put out a tweet this last weekend was that, Ashton Genty, who's my number 1 running back in the draft, Henderson would be my number 2 running back in the draft, but Genty averaged 5.25 yards after contact, which is phenomenal contact balance. But the thing with Tion Henderson is he averaged 4.43 yards, behind Genty. So I really like it. And then one of the best attributes about Henderson I liked is he's selfless. He's a guy that gives the same effort, same intensity, whether he's running the ball, doing, catching it, picking up a blitz, blocking for a teammate. He's a good teammate, I think. This guy would be really exciting, I think, in Washington's offense. It would make Washington's offense truly two-dimensional, adding a whole nother fold to how things could play out this season for the Commanders.
So you don't think 29 is too high to draft him?
No.
Oh.
No, not at all. I definitely, I know there's this thought out there that, to your point that, don't take a running back in the first round or anything, but you have to have an elite dominant special trait. Henderson has that home run hitting speed. And I just don't think, I think running backs are coming more in style. They're starting to trend again after what we saw with Philadelphia and Saquon Barkley, and we saw with Derrick Henry in Baltimore. I don't think it's any coincidence, guys, that Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson enjoyed the highest passer ratings of their NFL careers, having those two backs respectively playing for them this year. I think that those guys are kind of bringing it back to being a trend to pick running backs, and I think these guys fit perfectly in the timeline. The Ashton Genties, the Tion Henderson, of course, Henderson's team at Ohio State is pretty good too. My running back 3, which is Quinshawn Junkins.
Daniel, do you think that Peters moves off of that 29 pick, moves 5, 7, 8 spots back to try to get some of the picks that he's given up when he's acquired guys like Deebo Samuel, Laramie Tunsil, Lattimore over the last year and a half?
That's a great question, guys. I think it's very possible, depending on how he gauges, if he can get the guy that he still wants. He's done a great job there in Washington. If the running backs aren't there or something too, I think, maybe a pass rusher like a Princely Human Nealon, or a Landon Jackson would be a real nice pick around that area too, with the departure of Dante Fowler Jr., trying to replace that sack total. But, there's some guys, it's like I've heard Daniel Jeremiah and Matt Miller say, respectively, one or the other said, it's not a draft of a lot of stars, but it's a draft of a lot of starters. It's a meat and potatoes type of draft. I think that the second round is going to be loaded, because once you get really past the top 5 picks, it's kind of like, okay, what are we going to do here? We can move down, whatever. But the first couple rounds are just loaded with talent in the 2025 NFL draft.
All right, last question, just sticking with the running backs. I know you obviously love Genty. You talked about Hampton, Travion. One guy I'm interested to see where he goes. I'd be interested to see where you have him ranked and what round. Bashal Tutin out of Tech. I watched this kid for 2 years, and he transferred from North Carolina A&T, and he put up 29 touchdowns in 2 years down in Blacksburg for a Hokie team that really couldn't throw the ball. So it was pretty much all Tutin. Now, he got hurt a little bit towards the end of last year, but he averaged like 5.7 yards per carry. Interested to hear your thoughts on Tutin.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I haven't had a chance to do a full evaluation of him. He's one of the guys on my list I'm trying to get to. I mean, I do this 17 to 20 hours a day, 6 to 7 hours a day. He's on my list here. I'm hoping to get to him before the draft. But a guy like that, I could definitely see going in like the 3rd or 4th round. I know it's a very deep, people say there's a lot of running backs in this draft. But I think that, somebody that puts up those kind of numbers obviously has the ability to be a pretty good runner. And I think that he's going to draw a lot of interest in this draft. But I think 3rd, 4th round would be, from what I've seen and what I know so far, I think that would be a fair place for him in this draft.
Yeah, that's fair. I didn't see him higher than about 3rd round. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, Daniel. Always enjoy having you on. You can check him out on Twitter at First Round Mock. It's Daniel Kelly, former Jets scout.
Enjoy the rest of the week and, of course, this weekend.
Sounds good. You guys, too. It's draft day. It's a great time of the year, a time of hope and renewal for every team in the league. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks,
I always enjoy being on.
Yes, sir.
Take
Appreciate
care.
the
Daniel
time,
Kelly. Controversies he has. Shedeur Sanders, undraftable.
Yeah, wouldn't touch him. Even
I think
in
he
the
said
last
the
round.
same thing about Caleb Williams, undraftable.
Yep.
And Trey Lance, undraftable.
Not fans of those
So,
guys.
You know what? You might disagree with them, but the guy's got opinions.
Yep.
I do know Caps fans are butt-sized for this.
Mhm.
We're
Yep.
giving away tickets all morning long and, of course, all afternoon long, all the way until 5:20. And right now, caller number 9 at 800-636-1067. We're going to send you to Game 2 of Caps Canadiens 2025 playoffs are underway. Of course, you can get tickets and more event information at thefandc.com. So be caller number 9 at 800-636-1067.